This is the Ink Pulp Podcast. This is the Ink Pulp Podcast. Comics, hip hop, life. Welcome back to the Ink Pulp Podcast. Thank you for returning. And if you're a new listener, thanks for joining. I'm your host, Sean Crystal. Let's see. So today, I just shot a little introduction to my new business that I'm launching called Inkpulp Instruction, which is going to be, as some of you know from listening, a series of downloadable, or maybe I should make actual physical copies on USB drives. I don't know. I'm working it out. But it's a means of me to offer my educational services, because I have a background as an art professor in comic book art. It's a way for me to offer that, and a way for me to document and collect a library of information from as many artists as I possibly can, and offer those as a business so people can learn. But they are going to be entertaining too. I mean, I'm calling them episodes because to me that's kind of what they are. They're a little different than the podcast, but they're meant to teach and entertain. So I am calling them episodes, maybe like a cooking show might be. So I was just recording that. Of course, I wrote a really nice, well thought out piece to start with, and I was reading from it, and I was trying to make it natural and look natural and feel natural. It's a little hard. I've never rehearsed. I've never pre-written anything. All this shit is off the cuff, as they say. So yeah, I'm transitioning right now. So if you feel me if I feel a little stiff, maybe that's why. I'm feeling looser as we go. That's right. Crack that neck, homie. So today on my podcast, I've got Billy Martin. Hold on, let me reframe this shot a little bit. Yeah, that's the good stuff. All right. You like that? So did I tell this story when I was working on Young Animal and I was working with Gerard Way? My kids got real excited because they're real big MCR fans. And I was doing a small show in North Carolina, one that Tommy Lee Edwards helps put together. And Tommy and Gerard are very, very, very close friends. Like, their families stay with each other and shit. And that's how I got invited in on the Young Animal, was through Tommy, and met Gerard and all that jazz. Anyways, so there's a small show, and Tommy brought in Gerard to the show as well. So my kids were coming to the show, just me and my kids, and they were real excited. And it's a small show, so I knew they'd get some time with him. And my kids are hungry, so I take them to the green room, and they have some of their friends with them. And Gerard's in there with Becky, and they're talking, and Gerard and I know each other a little bit at this point, so we say hi. And then I introduce my kids, who are completely nerding the fuck out. And Zoe's all bashful, hi. And then I says, my son Zach, and Gerard goes, hi Zach, nice to meet you. My son goes, nice to meet you too. And he was so embarrassed for having done that. He, to this day, doesn't know why he did that. It was like a nervous reaction. It's from Fantastic Mr. Fox, I'm sure. But it was awesome. And to this day, we don't let him live it down. So, but that ties into today. So today's podcast, like I said, I have Billy Martin on here. And Billy, as many of you probably know, is the guitarist for Good Charlotte. And Billy is also a comic book artist. And that's how I came to know Billy. It was at Heroes Con, and him and his wife stopped by my table, and we're looking at my work, and Billy was familiar with my work. and we were talking about inking and techniques and stuff. And I knew Billy as a comic book artist. I didn't know him as a musician. So it was when he left, I was talking to Kari Randolph, who was next to me, and he asked if I knew who that was. I said, well, I know him from online, blah, 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 blah. And he said, oh, that's a guitarist for Good Charlotte. Oh, okay, cool. Anyways, fast forward. My son becomes very interested in guitar and has a knack for it. I would venture to say is a prodigy of some kind. He's never had a lesson. He's writing and performing his own songs and singing and does it all. So I've done my best to nurture this in him. And when it came time to get an electric guitar, I started like kind of consulting. Billy and I became better friends through the years, just through social media and cons. And we realized we have very similar tastes in hip hop. So I think we kind of bonded over that and would talk music all the time. So he kind of helped me, guide me on picking a guitar for my son. And then he said Good Charlotte was, I think the year before Good Charlotte was coming through, and he invited me, and I was too busy. Those were the days where I had that too much hyper focus, and I was living this crazy life of just always working and not getting anywhere. Anyways, we're past that. Let that shit go. Let it go, Sean. Fly away. But he, so he invited me down again, and I said, yes, I'm definitely coming. Yeah. And I asked, can I bring my son? Because he's really interested in music, and I knew we'd like go backstage and see Billy. I thought, what an exciting thing for my son to experience, to see like if this kind of like nurtures this love for music and now a lifestyle of music maybe. And then I asked, if you're doing sound check, can we hear that? He's like, yeah, come on down early, a couple hours early. And he invited us down. And I got down there, and he was in this gated off area where their tour bus was, and he got us through there. Then he brought me and Zach on the tour bus for Good Charlotte, which was cool. And for Zach was awesome. Of course, I walk in, and the only thing I see is Billy Cintiq is set up on the tour bus, and he's working on a cover, I believe it was. And so we just start talking art shit, and I'm like, oh, I gotta like get Zach in the mix, and we gotta start talking about music. And the lead singer was on the bus, and so he starts talking, we're all talking, and Zach's getting excited, and then Billy goes, come on, let's go to sound check. So he walks us off the bus, backstage, through all the labyrinth back there, hello Cleveland, that sort of thing. If you've seen Spinal Tap. Have you seen Spinal Tap? I mean, really, at this point in life, you should have seen Spinal Tap. Is the younger generation watching this movie? Because you need to. And we get on stage, and there's Billy's guitar tech, who's trying out all his guitars, and Billy starts showing my son everything. The guitars, the guitar tech, the foot pedals with all the pre-programmed shit. I mean, and he's on stage. This is on stage, so my son's on stage learning all this, and we're listening to Billy kind of jam. And I walked off stage and went down into the, like, in front of the stage and was, like, taking pictures of Zach up there. They did some lighting tests, and the smoke machine was on, the dry ice, whatever it is. And it was cool. And then, Billy got us some seats for the show. He's like, you can sit wherever you want. There's a VIP area where you can stand in the front. And he said, but I got you seats in like a roped off area for friends and family of the band. And I think Zach wanted to sit down. And Zach, I tried to get him familiar with some Good Charlotte music before. And he listened to it a bit and enjoyed it, but wasn't terribly familiar with it. But that show, I just saw him come alive. I mean, he just got up out of his seat, was jumping up and down and dancing. I've never seen this in him. He's always so reserved and kind of keeps to himself a bit, but he exploded that night. And we had an awesome time together. So that's my story with Billy. And I got to thank you right now. Again, Billy, thank you. You you really affected my son's life in a very positive way. Thank you for that one. But Billy and I become decent friends through the years too. I was keeping in touch. So when I got this podcast going, and then I got on the Far Side Network, and I was like, oh, Billy's such a fan of hip hop. He's gonna love this. I wanted to have him on as a guest, and he was very excited. And here we are, doing that jazz. And I know I usually have some deep thoughts, some meditations at this point. I guess now, I mean, one of the things that I'm wrestling with, that, you know, it's not concerning yourself with what's going on with others' careers, just staying focused, staying in your lane, staying on your island. Your path is yours and yours alone, and everyone else's path is theirs and theirs alone. But that being said, it's COVID has hit this industry pretty hard, as well as, it's not all COVID. There have been major problems in this business for a long time of comic books, and this just accelerated everything. So you're seeing all kinds of things shift and change at DC and Marvel and smaller publishers too. And some of it's heartbreaking. A very good friend of mine lost his job at DC Comics, and but, you know, it's just like when work stopped coming in for me, it's like I lost my job at DC and Marvel for a period. And that made me realize there's something very exciting waiting for you. Now go get it. And I think for all of us now, and I've talked about this over and over, now is our time to be fully independent, to create our art the way we want to create it and reach our audience, instead of worrying about a larger audience for a publisher so that the publisher can make money and pay you. Now you can go directly to them, cut out that middle person, bye-bye, and sell less and make more and do what you love. So it sucks to see people losing their jobs. It's sad because they've families and kids and all that shit. But my hope is we see some really amazing independent projects come out of all this. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm also noticing I still don't understand this social media thing where it's like a younger generation thing. No ability to self-soothe. No ability to handle the fact that like Buddhism says, life is suffering. It's not an easy lesson, but it's one I think we do have to accept. And when you accept it, when you accept that as your baseline, that the chaos of life is difficult, when you just accept that as normal, you can find peace in it, and that's the idea. But I just see it all the time on social media, this neediness, this, I don't know, make me feel better. Not me, but the posts, like, make me feel better. The world is not fair and it's not right. You make me feel better now. Here, comment. I don't get it. We've got to start putting in work on ourselves. That's what we all need to be doing. It's not a judgment. It's just a if you're listening. I mean, I'm doing it. I've got my issues and I'm working on them. So I don't know. I guess mentioning it is a hope that we can start a dialogue about this, or maybe people can start reflecting on themselves a bit. I don't know. Is self-awareness and self-responsibility a thing of the past? I don't think so, but it appears that some people do. Anyways, let's get into the Inkpulp Podcast with Billy Martin. Wait, let's not yet. Real quick, if you're new to this, and even if you're not, make sure you're subscribing to my channel here on YouTube. If you're listening on the far side, make sure you're subscribing to their channel on YouTube, on Twitch, or you're going to their website and watching the streams there. Make sure you like all the episodes, and make sure you leave comments on all the episodes. And also, make sure you're following me on all my social media so you can get words and updates on the podcast, on Ink Pulp Instruction, on things like commissions, or just check my artwork as I post it. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know about the madness that I create. I am at Ink Pulp on Instagram, on Twitter. I have a Facebook page. I have a TikTok. And that's about it. So now, let's get into the Ink Pulp Podcast with Billy Martin. Peace. So you got a cool looking studio there. One thing I like about the podcast is I get to see studios now.
Yeah, of course, right.
So what is that next to you? Is that like a curtain?
Over here, yeah, that's a window. Just
No,
like
on the other side. What's
oh yeah, it's a curtain. See, my office doesn't have a door. It's like just like a really big downstairs. Like I think it's meant to be an office, but there's no door, so
Oh.
I curtained it off.
Is it like a heavy soundproof curtain?
No, it drives my family crazy because this is also my music studio. So between whether I'm drawing or making music in here, it's loud. Yeah.
You've been making a lot of beats lately, huh?
Yeah, that's really uh been my best income lately. I mean, I can't go on tour and I feel like all my editors are just like there's no comic work right now. So
Right. Yeah. I mean, the
the best thing
industry
I can
got.
do is make beats
So,
and sell them on my beat store, that's something more
and you're
consistent.
making some decent money doing that?
Sometimes this month has been especially good. I've seen like a huge jump this month compared to the last 5 months. So I don't know if it's just patience and consistency and it's now starting to pay off, or I just
Right.
had a good month or something. So it's up and down.
What have you always been like such a fan of hip hop? Because that's one thing we've always like kind of connected on.
Yeah, I just love music. I've never really been stuck in one genre. I know a lot of people are like, I'm a rock guy or I'm a hip hop guy. I,
Hmm.
I love music. I mean, I was really big into the whole like rap metal, like late 90s, early 2000s thing
Like
was
Limp
big for
Bizkit
me.
stuff.
Absolutely. Because I grew up in a suburb like outside of Baltimore. So like hip hop just dominates between Baltimore and DC.
Right. And that's, I grew up in the same, right in a suburb of DC, well, right in the middle actually, of DC and Baltimore.
I always forget that. Yeah, so hip hop just dominates in Maryland. All the kids I went to school with, the radio stations, like everybody listens to hip hop. Sure, there was like the kids who listen to rock, but that was like the weirdo lunch table. Oh, those are the rock kids over there. Whereas like 80% of the school was all listening to hip hop. And I grew up in a time where like Dr. Dre and Snoop like dominated the radio, and like there was nothing cooler than Dre and Snoop. So hip hop's always been a big music influence for me. And then like I was saying, in the late 90s when there was a sort of rock can't speak to any more coffee, rap rock hybrid of things, I was like, ooh, this is it. This is the music I've been hearing in my head my whole life. So I love it when genres blend. And nowadays, like, there is no genres. Everything is just, to me, like a
Right.
mix of sounds.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk about Juice World today. And that's exactly where I feel like he lands. He is
Perfect.
something unto himself.
Absolutely.
So when did you get into making beats? Have you always kind of dabbled in there?
Yeah, you know what? Like, I love electronic music. I love the idea of programming the drums and playing guitar and playing the keys and manipulating the vocals. Like, I love the production side of music. I think that's one thing that you give up when you're in a band, because when you're in a band, you're like five guys and each guy has their role in the band, and you like, this is my defined role, this is what I do, and I'm not going to do the other thing because somebody else is doing that. And that's cool because that's where you get like that unique sound in a band. But I loved the idea of making beats and producing and programming because you control everything. It's like you're the whole band. So whenever whenever we're like writing or demoing ideas, I would always do that kind of stuff. And there's lots of stuff on all the Good Charlotte albums where I've added in like programmed drums and keys and stuff. So I've kind of always done it, but making beats specifically to try to sell or to send out to rappers, that's kind of a newish thing. I probably started that about maybe 4 years ago or something, where I thought, okay, maybe I could try to take this a little more seriously.
Right. Right.
And maybe in the last year or so, it's actually really become like another job or career choice for me.
Are you mixing, and excuse my ignorance on this, but are you mixing like your like guitar and like tactile instruments with digital sounds when you make beats?
Yeah, definitely. At first I wasn't, because I was just trying to emulate everything I was hearing in my favorite rap albums and stuff like that, and trying to just do a lot more, keys and sampling and chopping and programming. But people would come to me and ask for beats, and they'd be like, yo, send me all your guitar stuff. And I'm like, I don't really have any guitar stuff. I'm like, well, why not? Like, that's what people know you for. Like, you're a guitar player in a rock band. Why are you not putting guitar in your beats? And I thought, well, because I want to do something different. I've been putting guitar in my music for the last 20 years. Like, I want to do something different. But then you come to realize that like everybody has their niche in each community, and like what do you bring to the table that makes you special or you unique or something you can't do, and that's playing guitar. So I kind of had this realization like, okay, I need to find a way to like put more guitar. So I'm definitely probably half and half, maybe more guitar than less guitar these days, just because I've just realized it's the smart thing to do.
At first, were you like trying to leave out the guitar intentionally because you didn't want to capitalize on what you were known for, and you just wanted to be known for making beats without that?
Yeah, yes and no. It's just like it's when you've done one thing your whole life, it's fun to switch it up and do something totally different. And like not do guitar was really refreshing for me to finish a whole song where like the main melody was all done on keys instead of guitar. And also, yeah, sometimes it's like you want to prove like I can do it without guitar. Like, let me show you what I can do. And I've had a lot of successful beats that don't have guitar in it, but there's this, the new generation of musicians out there. They're all computer musicians, not all of them, but for the most part, like young kids are picking up a computer and they're like messing around with sounds in it, and it's a lot of pre-recorded sound parts that they're just dragging into their computer and manipulating it and making really great sounding music. But a good chunk of producers just don't know how to play an instrument. They never learned how to play guitar, they don't know how to play piano, they don't play drums. They just know how to manipulate the sounds in the computer to sound really good. And some people like to knock that, oh, that's not real. But you know what? When you're out there selling beats and a rapper's looking for something and he hears a beat that he loves, he does not care if you played it or not, you know?
Yeah, same thing in comics. Yeah, it's the same thing. Like drawn traditionally, drawn digitally, it doesn't matter.
Like the artists are paying attention to what the other artists are doing, but the consumer does not care. The consumer only cares about, is the end result good? So that's like I'm not like knocking the young kids out there who are making all these crazy beats and don't know how to play, because they're doing well and it's cool stuff. But a lot of times, there's these certain websites like Splice. Native Instruments has one called Sounds. I don't know if anyone who's listening to this is into music, otherwise I might be nerd talking. But these are
No, no,
sites.
dude, nerd talk, because this is on Farside Network, and they'll get it.
Right. Okay, so for all the producers out there, you go to these sites and you download guitar loops, and what it is, it's just like a guitar lick or a progression that just loops over and over again, and then people record them and upload them to these sites, and you can go and pay like a monthly fee to take as many as you want. But then someone might like hear a beat and they're like, oh damn, like I used that same guitar loop in my beat last week or something like that. So a lot of times you'll hear the same samples and loops getting used very often, because the amount of loops is only so big. So when someone comes to me and says, hey, I really want a beat and I want guitar in it, but I don't want it to be something that somebody else has, can you make a custom? So that's the difference, is the producer can pull loops all they want, but if they can't play it, they're not going to get exactly what you want. So then you have to go to someone who can play it and say, hey, make me something. So that's really where like a kind of niche has come in, where I've found that they want, other producers or other artists like want real guitars.
Right. Okay. Well, as if you're not talented enough with music, you also draw very well.
I,
So,
it's a necessity. I truly love both so much, and it's just
it's awesome, dude. It's great to see. I mean, for me, as you know, my son does both and loves it. I dropped him off today at school. He has guitar class in school, so he brings his guitar to school. He loves it. But yeah, I mean, it's awesome. I mean, that's how we met, was at cons. And I think when we first met, I knew your artwork, but I didn't know you were a guitarist for Good Charlotte. And it was after you walked away, I think it was Kari Randolph was next to me, and he said, "You know Billy, right?" I was like, "No," and then he told me who you were. I was like, "Oh, okay."
I love it when people know about my artwork and don't know about the band. That always makes me feel like I'm doing something right. And I was the same way. I was walking by, and I think I went to see Kari. He was actually like probably the first pro I met at a Comic Con. The very first con I did was Heroes Con, and I went down there and I had like a first copy of my own book that I did with IDW that nobody had ever heard of. And I was like, ooh, this is going to be crazy. All these people are going to find my new book. This is going to kickstart my comic career. And I sit down there and people are just passing my table left and right. And I'm thinking like, why is nobody stopping? What, like, and then, obviously Comic Cons, it's hard. Like a lot of people out there
Yeah.
they're like, well, I came to buy a Batman poster and a Spider-Man sticker. Like, that's why I'm here. Like, that's what people come. Some people come to find new products, but most people come because they want to pick up stuff to decorate their room or collect with their favorite characters. And so I kind of was sitting there by myself, me and my wife, just at my booth. And it was a very sort of lonely con. I didn't know any other comic book artists. People weren't coming to my booth, and I was trying to like learn. Sure, there was like some Good Charlotte fans who would come up and be like, "Hey, I brought this Good Charlotte album. Can you sign it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And they'd be like, "Thanks. Let me get a picture. Thanks."
So this is after Good Charlotte's been pretty successful.
Yeah. Like I didn't start comics until probably a good 10, 12 years into our career. But, long story short, after the first night, the con was over. I'm exiting it. And I hear everybody, "Hey, where are we going tonight? Let's go have a drink. Let's go to dinner." And I'm thinking, man, like, I don't know anybody. I don't know any comic book artists here. So I'm sitting around outside, and either I went up to him or Kari came up to me outside, and he was just like, "Yo, what's up, man?" And I just kind of started talking with him, and we probably sat outside the convention for a while, just small talking. And so I always remember him being like one of the first dudes who was just, "Hey, what's up?" And I came to see him. I think it may have been Heroes Con again where we met.
Yeah, it was.
That was my second or third year at it, actually.
Okay.
And I wanted to see him, and I remember you were working on some commissions or something with a brush and ink.
Yeah. Yes.
And I'm thinking, first of all, it's so crammed in comic, like doing commissions there is already stressful enough. And I'm trying to just like get it done, like let alone the idea of being steady enough to bring a bottle of ink and brushes and try to do that. But I just remember like coming to talk to Kari, but I couldn't stop watching you draw. And I was mesmerized by just like how clean. And I was thinking, I don't know this guy's work. Like this Sean Crystal, like this dude is good. And I loved watching, like any other artist, you love watching other artists. Fun. But you just had such like a unique and clean style with the brush and everything. And I remember flipping through your book of original stuff there. And, I've just been a fan ever since. So that's the cool thing about Comic Cons, meet new people and get exposed to so much stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of hard not having them right now.
Tell me about it. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
Hey, last night, like between touring with the band and Comic Cons, like I'm always traveling. It is rare that a whole month will go by that I'm not in a different city. Like I'm always in multiple cities every month, and now it's been since maybe, March. Like, I mean, you and I were talking, what was it, Seattle, right? We were going to go.
Right before Seattle. Yep.
Right. And that was going to be my first time doing Emerald City. I'd never done that show before, and I was really looking forward to it. And, boy, did we not see what was coming, right?
I referenced. Go ahead.
Yeah, like we were like, should we go? I don't know. Are you going? I'm like, I'm not sure yet. Let's wait and see. And like, who would have known? Like in that moment of, what is this all about? That we would be 6 months into it in the same.
I know. I remember you saying, "Man, I've toured like third world countries. I've got inoculated. We're gonna be fine." And then it was like 2 days later, it started getting a little different. We were like, "Oh shit."
Yeah. Like, I'm not going anymore.
Right. And then they finally canceled it. All right, so we got a few things we definitely want to talk about, but we are going to focus on drawing Spider-Man today. Excellent. And that was your suggestion, and I don't know I think we share this. I mean, Spider-Man's my whole reason for wanting to do this. with my life.
I mean, he's definitely my favorite character to draw. Like, he's just endless possibilities with Spider-Man. You know what? I think we talked about artists too, like which ones were big influences for us, for me. And there was a point where I was super into comics young as a kid. I thought that's what I would do. I'm going to draw comics for a living. I'm going to either work for Disney or for Marvel or do something. That was it. And then I got a guitar around 14 or 15, and I was like, oh,
Oh, all right, okay.
screw drawing. I don't want to do comics anymore. I want to be a rock star. Like, that's the only thing I want to do. Drawings for nerds. Like, it's way cooler to be in a band. I went like all in on playing guitar and started a band, and I really kind of let drawing go away for a couple of years, probably, where I just didn't do it.
Wow.
Then it came to a lot of downtime on tour. Like, a lot of time on tour, like, you've got your concert, but then like the rest of the day, there's not as much to do. There's a lot of, sure, like there might be meet and greets or sound checks, but there's still plenty of dead time or days off on tour where you have nothing to do. So then I thought, you know what, I should start drawing again, just picking up a hobby and start going to comic book shops like on my day off. And that was really like a comfort food kind of thing. I'd be in the middle of like Kentucky or something. I have no idea. Don't know anybody. And I'd get on my like computer and look up where's the local comic shop. And I'd find a comic shop and I would walk. Sometimes it was like 2 miles from the venue or whatever. And I would just walk to a comic shop. And it always felt like very comforting just to go into the comic shop and see, artists that I loved or books were coming out. I'd buy some books. And it was just one of those things. And I remember walking by a comic shop in some city, and there was and this is at the point where like I wasn't into comics. This was like the first time, like walking by, and I'd see comic shops and be like, oh, comics, I used to love comics. But there was a poster in the front window for Out There. It was a book that Ramos drew, okay, about these these young kids with this monster that came off, and they were like all seated together, and it was like looking in from the outside of a window or something, these like big cartoony eyes and these crazy proportions. And I stopped like dead in my tracks, and I was like, who drew this, and like, so I had to get on right away and like figure out. And I kind of like, when Crimson was big and all that was when I had like given up on comics and I wasn't paying attention, so I didn't even know anything about Ramos.
Okay.
From the second I saw that Out There thing, like something exploded in my head, like I want to draw comics again. Like that drawing right there, like made me want to get back into comics. And, speaking of Spider-Man, there is none higher as far as artists in Spider-Man. Humberto just kills it. He was born to draw Spider-Man. And, so yes, when I think about comics and Spider-Man, I think about him and I think about Spider-Man. And that's just one of the things that gets me excited about drawing comics.
Awesome. All right. So I'm going to, while we're on that note, I'm going to switch my camera over my table. Okay. So I'm starting this Spider-Man painting. Once I get over there, I'll get those glasses out of the way. Let me switch my mic. And now I'm over here. Okay. Actually, let me turn my computer real quick.
It's not fair. You already got this like awesome like sketch worked out, and I'm starting from scratch. So
you'll kill it. You'll kill it.
No, man. I love those proportions. It's really good.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, actually, let's talk about that. We were doing a test earlier, and you had noticed something in my work, which I've noticed as well. And I don't remember exactly what you said. Do you remember what you said?
Like I said, I felt like you changed your style up a little bit. It looked more stylized. I mean, you've always had, obviously, you've never drawn super realistic, but like the spindliness of those arms and legs, like they're really long and skinny, which I feel like just Spider-Man should totally look like that. But there's something really cool about those proportions that I feel like you're pushing it a little more than you usually do.
Yeah, and I am. That's definitely true. And I'll explain to the audience what I said to you. But first off, yeah, Spider-Man should be drawn like a spider. He should have these long, spindly limbs. I love giving him giant feet and hands too.
Totally. Did I start drawing as well? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah. Go ahead. Start.
Okay.
Yeah, let's start drawing and talking.
Okay.
So, what I was explaining to you was I started out very much like you, where like Ramos was a huge influence on me to the point where I just was trying to be a Ramos clone. And I was very, very, very stylized. I came from like a graffiti and hip hop drawing style background. And I did get an undergraduate degree in illustration, but I never had like a real formal training. It's one of the problems I have with art school is I don't feel like there's a lot of instruction, like helpful instruction. It's a lot of draw this and draw that, but not a lot of why am I drawing this? What am I trying to get from this? So I had this very raw, all balls type style with very little foundation. So when I went to graduate school, I remember like after my first quarter, I was like, it was humbling. I was like, I got to learn like foundation shit. I had enough skill to get into graduate school, but so I became almost photorealistic. I was really studying. I wasn't looking at a lot of the cartoony artists. I still loved rainbows and would look at it, but what I was studying was like Kevin Nolan and Frank Frazetta and Al Williamson and a lot of more classic illustrator influenced comic book artists, and spent time doing that. And then I went at the end of graduate school, I went super cartoony Bruce Timm. Like
Right.
he just rocked me. But now I had a bit of an understanding. And I remember saying to myself, stylistically, my goal was to be able to create the shapes of Bruce Timm with the rendering of Kevin Nolan. So I would practice that and practice that. And I always felt like for many years, up until very recently, I was holding myself back stylistically because I didn't understand. Whenever I'd let myself go like crazy with the cartoony, it never felt like I was understanding how I was applying the knowledge I had from all the traditional study I had.
Feel like you're wasting all that knowledge that you have or something.
Yeah, it was like there was no harmony there. So when I render out an area and it'd be like, that doesn't match. So
I mean, like sometimes heavy rendering can like take away from the simplicity of like a stylized cartoony drawing.
right, yeah, that's very true. That's very true. But I think recently I think I've just gotten to know my craft enough or developed it enough to a point where I'm able to just kind of let it go. And now it feels like instinct. I was thinking about this last night where I was thinking about this Spider-Man and this Hulk I did. And it was kind of like what you said. I was like, I'm not thinking about why I'm doing stuff. I'm just doing it and it just feels right. And I think this is the first time I can say that.
I mean, that's like the ultimate goal, I think, for most artists, you know, to sit down and just start drawing and like not constantly be questioning yourself or overthinking what you're drawing the whole time, just have it come out right, you know. But
Yeah.
I've also seen some artists talk about that like drawing is really just problem solving. And I think about that in my head all the time. And I'm like, it really is true. Because a lot of times you're drawing and you're thinking, what's wrong with this? Why doesn't that muscle connect right? Or like what's off with my foreshortening or something? It's problem solving. Although you are drawing, you're also having to think about it the whole time about, you know, what is wrong here and how can I fix it? And that's the biggest difference between, I think, a professional and an aspiring artist is the professional will continue to chip away at that drawing and think about it until that problem is fixed. Whereas I think most of us young artists, you're like, well, that's just as good as I can draw for now, you know, or that's the best it can be. But like,
right.
you're never going to get to that next level until you figure out how to solve those problems.
Right. And then tell me if you agree with this. I feel like when you get to a point where you can solve the problems, then it just becomes a point of like letting go and letting your like what feels right happen. So it's like your instincts become so sharp that your intellect doesn't need to explain it to yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. Like, you know, just like you can break a rule on purpose and not feel bad about breaking the rule because you understand why you're breaking the rule or something like that, you know?
Right. Yeah, totally. So talk to me, when did you what made you fall in love with Spider-Man?
I mean, I guess because I am, so into stylized art and that kind of cartoony look, that I think there is a lot of characters that when you start to stylize them a lot, they lose their coolness or their toughness. Like you take Wolverine and you make him really cartoony, and he's probably going to kind of look a little silly. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like with Spider-Man, I felt like you could push all that stylization and all those proportions to such like a wide level that it always looked good. So for me, I mean, I don't know if every artist is like this. Like comics for me were so much more about the visuals than the story. If
Yeah.
if my favorite artist stopped working on a book, I probably would stop reading the book as a kid. Like I didn't really
Yeah.
care about, sure I know a lot of the comic backstories because I read them, but I'm not like, it's not like, oh, Spider-Man touches like me on a personal level where I relate to his story or something. Like I don't really have that kind of relationship with any comic characters for that.
Right.
It's more about when I see that, it's like it gives me that feeling inside that like that's what I want to do or that's what I want to make or that drawing just resonates with me or something. And Spider-Man, like so many different artists can take on Spider-Man, and God, there's a million guys who just do it so incredibly well and so different.
Right. Do you so you weren't like a continuity freak, like,
Definitely not.
and do you remember your first exposure to Spider-Man?
Uh,
Was it through a comic book?
yeah, definitely through a comic book. Like I remember it was like some kind of a free comic book that they were giving away at the comic shops. Like, I don't know if they did free comic book day like back in the 80s or something or 90s whenever I first started going, but one of those things where it was like a free comic book and had Spider-Man and Kraven the Hunter on the cover. I remember that.
Okay. Do you remember who drew it?
No, I feel like it was a reprinting of like a classic like Ramita book or something like that, but
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
not positive.
Okay. And the reason I ask is because, like I said to you earlier, my whole drive to do this every day and do this for a living can be traced back to Spider-Man, but it was the cartoon that was on TV in the 70s.
Right.
Because I just remember that was the most exciting thing for me. I was probably 7 or 8, and no alarm. I'd just wake up at like 6 a.m. on a Saturday. No one else would be awake. I'd run downstairs, pour myself a giant bowl of cereal, and park myself in front of the TV right when that theme song started. And it was like everything for me. But it was every episode, like getting to see like who was the bad guy we were going to get to watch today. Like I just loved it.
Sure. I think that's one of the best part of comics is, a hero is only as good as their rogues gallery, the villains.
Yes.
It's such a big part of comics. You get bored seeing the same guy over and over, but when they have a different villain to fight, and it's always exciting to see who's it going to be. And man, Spider-Man definitely has great villains.
Yeah. So that's where my love started.
That's awesome.
So did you say, I didn't catch it earlier, but you knew of Ramos when he did Crimson, or you discovered Ramos later?
I found Crimson out later.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, definitely Out There was the first book for me that I saw his work on. That was really like, I'm not sure what era. That was probably early 2000s or something when that book came out or something. But yeah, he's just his Spider-Man stuff is crazy because even at that point he hadn't done any Spider-Man stuff as far as I know. That was definitely come later.
Yeah, I discovered him. It must have been on some Marvel X book. I can't remember, but I remember shortly after he went to a book at Wildstorm called Deviate.
Yeah,
And that's when I really got into him.
that was even before Out There, even, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was way before Out There. Deviate.
Oh, I have all of them. Trust me, dude. When I discovered Ramos, I was like, get on air, go to all the comic shops and get everything I can find on this. It's awesome. That a fire in me. So yes.
Yeah, Deviate. Also, Warren Ellis wrote it. It was an interesting book. But I
Yeah.
remember there was an issue with two hitmen named Ernesto and Roberto, and it was Bert and Ernie. And
That's all.
Ramos didn't shy away from making it obvious in the design that they were Bert and Ernie. It was so awesome.
That's I'll have to go back and revisit that. That's
Yeah,
fun.
that was fun. All right, so let's. Why don't you share your? Are you at a point where you have anything to share yet?
I mean, I can share, sure.
Yeah, I'm curious. I love seeing the early stages of stuff
All right.
because you're working digitally on the Cintiq, right?
Okay, so here's what I got so far.
Oh, dope.
You know, classic legs up in the air.
Yeah,
Spidey.
yeah. Dude, you got that quick, man. I gotta say, I was wrestling with this one for quite a while.
I mean, some days it just happens, some days it doesn't.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's
I've
very
also
true.
been like a lot more focused on music just because that's really where the work's been lately. Like my comic work has been very minimal since coronavirus. So I'm not really drawing as much as I used to. So anytime I have, an excuse to draw like this, I feel like good ideas are just coming out.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, it's worth talking about. I mean, I talk about with most every guest I have on. What do you think you're going to do, looking at the landscape now with what COVID has done to the business? Are you still like before this? You were pretty much doing freelance work only in comics, right?
Yes, I've done a couple like I worked for IDW on Ninja Turtles for a couple months in a row. That was about the only really consistent work because unfortunately I was on tour a lot with the band, so mostly just variant covers. That's just what I really do is just kind of covers. But since Corona started, I've done one cover for Marvel and one cover for IDW. It's been very slow.
When did you start doing covers for Marvel?
Let's see, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe.
Okay. How many
Uh,
covers have you done for them now, you think?
Maybe like 15.
Have you done Spider-Man?
Yeah, I've done a couple Spider-Man.
Oh, damn, you're lucky, dude.
Well, technically, I guess I haven't done actual Spider-Man. I've done Champions, like Ramos's book. I did a variant for #1 on that, and that had Spider-Man on the cover. The very first job I got at Marvel was a 2-cover connecting cover. So I had to do
Oh,
two
wow.
covers that connect, and I was thinking, oh, they're just messing with me to see if I can handle this. They were like, long story short, my friend Steven Seamus, who runs Ace Comic Cons now, you used to know him from Wizard Comic Cons back in the day. And I'd been doing a lot of the shows with Comic Cons with him, and they wanted, he had a show coming up, and he wanted an exclusive cover for the convention, and he said, hey, I want Billy Martin to draw it. And they were like, no, we just want someone else who's already like a Marvel artist, because you have to like be in the system. Like Marvel can like throw you work if you're not a Marvel artist already.
I mean, they can if they feel like it, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Well,
It's like a roadblock they have,
they
right?
were like, it's a lot of paperwork, it's this and that. Can we just go with somebody else? And Steven was strong on it. It was like, nope, it's got to be Billy. Like, he's done a lot for me. We're good friends, and
That's awesome.
I want Billy to do this. And Marvel pushed back again. It was just like, are you sure? And like we don't even really know this guy's stuff. And he was like, trust me.
That's what it was about, dude. I guarantee you.
For sure. And they said, okay, we'll let him do it. So they come at me and they're like, okay, so here's the job. We need 2 connecting covers, and we need it all within like 6 days or something like that. And I was
dude, they were fucking with
on tour in Europe at the time.
Oh my god.
Like with the band. I was like, okay, let's go. This is my chance to do something with Marvel. And I did it. I drew it all and I sent it in, and they were like, oh, this is pretty good. They're like, we've got another 4 covers that we could offer you if you want. And they gave me 4 more covers that day that I turned it in.
Oh shit.
So it was very like, hey, thank you guys. But like sometimes when your name is called, either you bring it or you blow it, and apparently,
That's true.
apparently I did okay. I knew it was a big opportunity, and I definitely got a lot of work right away from them. Like it was kind of hot and heavy, and they were sending me variant covers all the time. And then probably a year went by, and I just crickets. I didn't hear from anybody, and the work
Right.
just faded. And I think a lot of people do that. They find someone new and it's exciting, and you do a lot of work together, and then they kind of go back to their classic people. But
Right.
at the beginning of coronavirus, one of my editors reached out and was like, "Hey, I need a power pack variant cover. Are you interested?" And it had probably been like a year and a half since I'd done any Marvel work, so I was like, "Yes, let's do it." So very thankful to get to do that. But
That's cool.
the work is definitely more far and few in between these days.
But yeah, you're right. When the opportunity comes, you got to bring it. Was your break in music a trial by fire as well, like that?
Uh, kind of. My music career was definitely a lot of luck and timing, a little less hard work, like with I don't know, I'm being very long-winded, but we're supposed to be talking a lot. It's a podcast, right?
Yes, yes. Long-winded is good.
I try to I'm gonna go back to the art for a little bit and then switch over to music, because when I first, I've always been drawing my whole life, like we talked about, but I wasn't super serious about it. It was more of like a hobby. And when I first started trying to get comic work, like early on in like early 2000s, when Good Charlotte was doing really well, I thought, man, I really want to get into comics. So I had my manager reach out to some of the companies, and of course, they took the call because they knew the band and we were doing well at the time. So it was almost like I had the easy foot in the door. But then like I came to this realization where they would be like, hey, this is cool, you draw pretty good, but like, why would I hire you to draw Spider-Man when there's already this guy here? Like, why?
Right.
Sort of like, why would you hire like a kid to fix your car who's like into fixing cars when your next door neighbor is like the best mechanic in the city? That's who you're going to go to.
Right,
So
right.
I realized real quick, like, damn, like I have to get better. Like I have to draw really, really good if I want to draw for Marvel. So I probably spent a year or two just like obsessed with schooling my skills, watching YouTube videos, reading books, like
Oh, wow.
drawing all the stuff that I was bad at drawing. Just because I didn't do any school or anything for this, and just it was just about getting better and really being focused and really giving myself like, I don't know, like being strict about it. Like, you've got to draw today, you've got to practice hands today, you've got to draw buildings today, you got to do cars today or whatever. So I spent like a good, long while getting better, and I saw my skills getting better and better. And then I went back like 2 years later with a new set of portfolio, and that's when I got my first job at IDW. That
Okay.
was like the first company to give me a break. But before that, I realized I had to put the work in. But when it came to music, I started a band. I started playing guitar in high school. I had a high school band. It was me and two other friends, and I was the lead singer and the guitar player. We were just a little three-piece, and that's kind of how I started. And then I met the guys in Good Charlotte, and they were just another local band, but they were only a four-piece at the time. Just Benji sang and played guitar, and there was no second guitar player. And we became friends, and our bands kind of started playing shows together. And then they kept kind of being like, dude, you should quit your band and join our band. And I was like, no, no, no. Like, I can't leave my band behind. And as we started nearing high school, getting into our senior year, one of the guys in my band was older, and he's like, well, I'm going to college. And I was like, you can't go to college. What about the band? And he's like, yeah, my parents are making me go to college, and I'm going to college. I was like, okay, well,
So was that band like, were you had shows and stuff, like you were performing, and were you making money and stuff with that band?
no real money. We'd get like $50 for a show or something. I mean, I was still in 11th grade, like
Okay, okay.
real.
So
So
local gigs?
just local gigs. Yep.
Okay.
And then when I was a senior in high school, that was when I decided, okay, well, my band doesn't really have much opportunity anymore because our drummer's leaving, and one of the guys was going to join, the other guy in the band was going to join the military. And I was kind of like, man, I'm all by myself on this, but I was all in on the band thing. I didn't want to go to college. I didn't want to do anything else. I was like, this is what I'm doing. So, I decided, okay, maybe I'll try to play with the Good Charlotte guys, because we were really good friends and I liked the guys, but I was in like a metal band and they were writing like pop songs. It was very different than what I was
Oh, wow. Okay.
so I mean I had like long dreadlocks. I was into like Korn, Limp Bizkit, Deftones, and
Okay. Okay.
Charlotte was sounding like, Green Day or Blink 182, and that was just, not what I was into, but it was fun because it was different. So I started playing with those guys, and we started to get a lot. They were all out of school. I'm the youngest in the band, so at this point they were all out of school and able to like travel and like just do local gigs all the time. And they would be doing like late night bar shows or driving to like Philly or Virginia or Jersey or something like that to play shows. And I'm still in high school, so there would be times where I'd like go and do the concert, and I'd get home at like 3 a.m. and have to get up at 6 and go in and go to school and stuff like that.
So your parents were really supportive of this.
I mean, yes, they were. They saw how passionate I was about it. They were always a little on the fence. My dad had like a little bit of money saved up for college, and he was like, I've got this college fund that I want you to use, and I'll make you a deal. You can try this band thing for 1 year, and after 1 year, if the band thing doesn't work, you don't get the college fund anymore. I take the money back, and you missed your chance, And I was like, okay, I'm into that. So this was early on in my senior year, because they're like, you need to be applying to colleges, you need to be doing this and that, and I wasn't, because I was like, I'm not going to college. I'm doing this band thing, and they're like, it's really hard to do, and so either way, so Good Charlotte started to get some local notoriety, and we were starting to get some more gigs, and then we got a chance, offered to open up for some like big acts when they came through. Like, do you remember Lit had that song, My Own Worst Enemy? It was like a big like late 90s rock radio song. But you're a hip hop guy, so you don't know it.
Right. I mean, I like, I'm the type of person, I have such blinders on with music. Like when like hip hop, I'm into like I don't listen to the radio. Like if I like hip hop, so I'll go digging for hip hop, but I would never, I guess it was probably after like late 90s I just stopped listening to radio because the music I wanted to hear wasn't on there.
That makes sense.
I mean, there was a period where after my punk rock years where I was into some more alternative new wave. You probably remember WEBB.
I mean, I know that name, yes.
It was the alternative radio station out of DC.
Right.
And that was the only time I listened to the radio. So yeah, I go ahead. I'm sorry. That was a tangent, but yeah, I don't know that song.
I assume we'll have lots of tangents. Either way, they were a band who was doing really well at the time, and we got offered to open up for them at the DC show, and then at their Philly show, and at their New York show. So it was 3 shows in a row that we get to open for a national act, sold out clubs, and so that was really exciting. That's when we felt like something was happening. But literally, I was still in school, so I would get out of school in the afternoon, and the guys would be like parked out front in the van, like with the trailer and all the gear packed up, like waiting for me. And I'd hop out of school and hop in the van and, drive to New York or something like that, play the concert, drive home that night, get home at whatever, and wake up and go back to school again. And the next thing after school, I'd wake up, I'd come out of school the next day, and the guys would be waiting, and we'd go to Philly that day. And it was crazy, it was a lot of things were happening, and then all of a sudden, labels started getting interested and things started happening, and I had to have a meeting with my school principal because, we got offered a record deal, and I was still a senior in high school.
Yeah.
I was 17, and so my dad had to come in and like have a meeting with the principal and talk about, what was going on. And yeah, he's got a real record deal, and they want him to go to New York for 3 weeks to record their album. And, I was still in school and stuff like that. So I had to get permission to be able to do that. But luckily I was a really good student. I got really good grades all the time. I just had this mindset of get good grades and then I can do whatever I want. My parents can't punish me. I wanted to be able to like go to concerts and stay out late and play concerts and that. So I just would always just get my schoolwork done real quick. So luckily I had very few credits left in my senior year that I had to do in order to graduate. So my second half of my senior year, I got early release, work release, and the band was my job. So that counted as work release. So I only technically had to take 4 classes, 4 4 classes a day was the minimal, and I only had one actual, what's the word, like class that I had to, one credit left. I needed one English credit to graduate. So I'd go into school, and first period was guitar, second period was English, and then third period was drawing, and then fourth period they just let me be the library assistant, and literally I would sit in the library and I'd either do the homework from English in library so that when I got out of school I could go do band stuff and my homework would be done, or I would just like sit in there and draw. And like that was the last half of my senior year. So it, that worked really well. So not to say I didn't put a lot of time in, but the hard work with the band came like after that. Like getting signed like came fairly quickish just from having a buzz. But I feel like it's easier these days to get signed than it is to maintain a career in the music industry. It's so much harder to stay relevant and stay being successful. So
yeah, I mean, you can say that for comics, I think too. It's
for sure. Everyone has their hot moment, and then you got to figure out, okay, now what?
So, I mean, one thing I'm taking away from this so far is you've got an incredible work ethic.
I guess I do. Sometimes I don't think I do, but there's no other explanation for how to make things work if I didn't, I guess.
Yeah. Where do you think that comes from? Like, have you always just been a very driven child, or was it just your passions were that strong?
I mean, both. I guess like there's never been a question at any point in my life that art and music wouldn't be what I would do. Like it was never a thing of like, if I make it or like it would be cool. I was always like, well, when I'm gonna do this, like, and I think that there's a big part of self-doubt with people, that like you wonder, can you do it? But I was always like, I can do it and I'm gonna do it and no one's gonna stop me, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the same thing I had. It was never a question.
That's how you get things done,
Yeah.
I'm gonna should I unscreen share so we can go back to looking at yours for a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I'll explain what I'm doing here. So one thing I'm doing with this piece is
I couldn't even see the back of what you're drawing behind it. Cool.
So here I have this big billboard, like LED display. I'm gonna have some skyscrapers over here in the way distance. But what I'm doing is Spider-Man's red and blue. But I'm gonna do like a night scene, so it's gonna be like violet, push the blues towards the violets and the reds dark and deep. So I wanted this bright green like LED billboard to light everything up. And I've been listening to Be Real's podcast a lot, and I saw the logo for his Dr. Green Thumb, and I was like, that's so green and perfect. I want to use that. But also I'm a big fan of Cypress Hill and have been for a long time. And I really want to get Be Real on my podcast. So I'm wondering if like doing something like this could get his attention.
Funny, because he has so many of those. There's a Dr. Green Thumbs like near where I live, and now that you see it, I'm like, oh yeah, I know that logo.
Oh, you live near one of them?
He's got like 10 of them. Like,
yeah, I know. And I just saw today he's opening one in Arizona now.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I listen to his podcast now, and I hear him talk about it. I'm like, I mean, I still live in an area where it's totally illegal.
Yes.
So I don't get to see it. Do you indulge in that at all? I guess I never.
I just don't really talk about that stuff.
Okay. All right, never mind.
I have no problem. I'm super stoked that it's legal, but
right.
I just don't really ever talk about that. I figure that I have lots of, young influence.
I got it. Well, I wish it was legal where I live. That's all I'm saying.
I'm saying I think that it should be.
But yeah, so I thought it would be a good opportunity to just try to use this like neat, like really lit up green to pop out Spider-Man, and it'll be nice to have some other like green light creeping in on the red, so you get the complementary colors there.
Super cool idea. I'm looking forward to seeing that finished.
Thank you. And then the buildings, like I was looking at the art of Spider-Verse.
Yes.
And I really like how, and I guess Robbie kind of did this too, how the cityscapes just become these like perpendicular, like vertical and horizontal, like strokes,
Yeah.
color, and not clearly defined. And that's one thing, like I always clearly define everything. So I'm trying to learn to leave areas where I don't clearly define things, especially if they're away from the focal point. So I want to try to mess with that with the skyscrapers.
I totally hear you on this stuff. Like drawing messy is hard for me. Like I
Yeah,
love
me too.
but some guys who artists who I see. I mean, I'm sure you probably have the same way. You see someone who has a style that is not like yours at all, but you love it and you think, how can I like incorporate something this person is doing into my art?
Totally.
Without copying what they're doing or like changing how I draw too much, Like there's
Totally.
this new artist, you probably know it. He's like Italian or something. Is it Simone or something? He was doing like a Ninja Turtles Power Rangers like crossover book.
What's his name?
I think it's like, hang on, I gotta look him up. But
I think I know exactly who you're talking about.
like I want to make sure I'm not like mixing the wrong person. Let's see. Yeah, like Simon DeMeo or Simone DeMeo.
Yes. He's on a boom book right now.
Okay.
And Jeff DeCal, who's a friend of mine, is doing the covers. And we were like Zooming one day, and he was like, "Have you seen this guy's work? He's amazing." But go ahead.
The artist most recently whose work I've seen, who I was just like, oh my God, this dude is crazy. Like he can just draw.
Yeah, he can.
But he does these cool like scratchy kind of like hash mark lines, but they're all like long, like big strokes that really show like the like just emotion and like just I don't know, like they're placed. There's some areas where there's no lines at all, like it's a complete like blank almost silhouette or like solid white, and then there's other spots where there's all these tiny little like detail lines, and I think, man, like it's so cool. Like, and I keep thinking, how could I find a way to work in some of that detail like without it taking away from the areas that don't. He's really skilled in that whole
Right.
just being able to see it. I love it.
Yeah. His drawings are crazy, amazing. And then he does some exaggeration sometimes. It's so awesome.
Totally. And he posts a lot of commissions too on his social medias that he does, and his commissions are like insane.
Yeah. I know exactly who you're talking about. So if you're usually on the road a lot with cons and touring and stuff, how are the kids doing with dad being home all the time now? Are they excited?
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, they're kind of used to it. That's the kind of all they've ever known is, dad travels a lot, and but of course, it's always nice when we can all be together. Makes life easier. Also, create some new challenges when dad tries to work, and they're home all the time.
Yes. Yeah, I
And when
know.
kids, they're like, well, like so and so at school, his dad does this, but you just draw or play your guitar, like you're not working. I'm like, no, I am. Like
Yeah.
this is
You're
what,
probably working harder than that.
right? And
I mean,
like
just
I don't get to log in and get that guaranteed 9 to 5. Like I just
right.
come up with a great idea that somebody wants to pay for, or don't make money today.
Right. You have to like hustle. Is to be an artist, you're never like down.
It's very true. But I bet it's cool. It's nice. I mean, my wife takes the brunt of like all the homeschooling, which has been, interesting and tricky, but kind of nice at the same time. Like, so you said your son actually physically goes to school, huh?
Yeah, the county I live in, they offered a choice. It's the only county in Georgia that I think offered a choice. You could stay home or you could attend in person, but whichever choice you made, you had to stick to
Right.
for the first semester or for the first half of the year, I guess. And I mean, he was starting high school and we really were on the fence and wrestled with it a lot and went back and forth with it. And I mean, there were reasons to, of course, have him stay home, but there were also reasons to have him go. One was he'd be home alone all day, and just knowing him left to his own devices, it would be a very mentally unhealthy way for him to be.
Sure.
But also he was looking at, like, his high school has a guitar program and an art program, and he's been like, he's really kind of found himself recently and has like a lot of like a active social life, an active creative life. And we didn't want him to start high school because he hates school. Like he just, I know everyone does, but he literally, like, it's like the worst thing for him. And now it's like, I think he's even kind of excited about going.
Wow.
But, you know, we looked at, like, in the county I live in, the cases are very low, the amount of people that have it. And so we were like, I don't know. We didn't know where it was going. Is it going to get better? Is it going to get worse? And we asked him what he wanted to do, and he was on the fence. And I think ultimately when he saw he'd have guitar class, he really wanted to go. And I mean, you know, just because you've met him, he's got this love for guitar and drawing, but he's never, the only experience he's had in nurturing that, other than playing at home, is the concert where he saw you and got to see how all that works. So I don't know. I guess it was a risk we took, where in the name of art, we were going to do this. So we did.
Well, when your kid's excited about something that you know they're not going to be, it's really hard to still be like, oh, you know, like I understand that.
Right.
Unfortunately, I live in Los Angeles County, so there's a couple of cases going on around here these days.
Yeah, just a few.
Just a few. So, you know, there's no school. They keep talking about, well, we're getting closer and closer to it. And I'm like, no. Like, please don't make my kids go to school right now.
Right. Well, my daughter started college, but she's at home doing it online.
Okay.
So
that's convenient.
Yeah. I mean, she goes into, I think the first week, there were a couple classes that had one in-person meeting for the entire semester.
Okay.
And other than that, she's online. So she's doing that.
Much better.
Yeah. I mean, it's a real, like, I remember my days of teaching. Online teaching is a very difficult thing to do as a teacher and to learn from as a student.
I'm sure. I mean, I see my kids going through it all the time. I mean, luckily, you know, my kids are still young, and you know, they both are just they're smart. You know, they just get it. They don't really need that much extra help, and I keep being very thankful that that's the case, because if
That's awesome.
either one of them was really struggling with it, I would think, you know, and I've heard people on TV say this, and I agree. Like, we're going to go from like a health crisis to a financial crisis to an economical crisis. I mean, to an educational crisis, because
Right.
kids are going to suffer. We're going to have, like, because this, you know, this is potentially going to be lasting for a while, and these kids are
Right.
not going to get the school that they need, and that's frustrating. But it's nobody's fault.
Right. Agreed. But you know, it's kind of fortuitous that I'm about to launch an entire line of, like, how to draw comics downloadable videos,
Nice.
and but taught by me and everyone that I know in comics. So the first one is me, and I'm launching an Indiegogo for that October 1st. And I'm heading out to film Tommy Lee Edwards episode in like 3 weeks.
Very cool.
And then I'm supposed to go to Oregon to get Ma Food and Canetti. They're doing one, and I'm just building from there. But my hope, you know, my
That's
plan was,
good names.
yeah. Oh, dude, there's going to be a lot. But you know, my plan was to, like, I just look at art school, and I'm like, the amount of money it costs to get an education in comics, which I mean, just to make a living alone in comics is so difficult. Then to have a school loan on top of it for a couple $100,000, it's just backwards.
It really is.
So I wanted to create something that could offer a better education in comics for pennies compared to that.
That is cool, and I mean, I know as when I was young, if I could have like watched a video by like, professionals that I looked up to teaching me how to draw, I would have been all over that for
Me
sure.
too, me too. And that's exactly what I was thinking. So,
There's some out there, but I'm surprised that there's not more, honestly.
right. And yeah, you're right.
Gnomon Workshop. Did you ever watch any of those? They were like,
Yeah, I did watch the Noman ones for sure. And I love schoolism. I fuck with that right now.
I have done some schoolism as well. It is very cool. But I think that's cool, man. I'm glad that you're doing that. I know you talked to me a while ago, a couple months ago. I was asking like,
Yeah.
how are you surviving, or how's like, I know I'm lucky that I have multiple jobs to bounce around from, but like they're all screwed right now. Like
Right.
music or art or any of those things, none of them are in a great position right now. So I definitely like to check in on my other friends who are doing the same kind of jobs, and all my creative friends. I mean, so many band guys, and a lot of people just assume, oh, if you're in a band, you're a millionaire. Like that's just not the way it works. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's so expensive to go on tour. Like you are going to spend 80% of what you make, like just
Wow.
going on tour, between paying for your, you've got usually 10 people crew, 5 people in the band, plus maybe, I guess your touring party can be anywhere from like 10 to 15 people. And you pay for everybody's hotel room, everybody's salary, everybody gets a per diem for food, like you pay for all that. You have to pay for like insurance, you're paying for the bus driver, you're paying for the gas that the tour bus uses. I mean, you literally are paying for everything when you're on tour. And then you come home from the tour and they're like, okay, there's a little bit left that the band can take home. So it's hard, and then I think about like, okay, so I've been lucky enough to be in a band who's like done pretty well, but like I have friends bands who like they play like to 300 people a night on tour, and that's like a big show for them. Like not every,
Right.
some bands, success level is different than other bands, and to them a sold out tour of 300 people a night is huge, and that's great, because some people can't even do that, but that's like pennies. And then bands like that get their job taken away, and
Right.
it's hard, like. And then I think about like, okay, so some band guys, they can do like what I've been doing. They can stream. You go online and you stream, and you sell merch, or you sell whatever it is. Like you can still work and sell stuff online and make a little bit of money to help get by. But what if you're a guitar tech, or a merch guy, and you sell merch for a living? Like that's all you've done for the last decade is go on tour with bands and work. Like there's no other jobs for them. Like and those people are getting hurt really hard right now. And
Right.
it's weird, because I know for a while when those people were trying to look up unemployment and stuff like that, unemployment would be like, no, you don't count, because like
Right.
we need to see your W-2s and seeing how much you get on a weekly basis. And you would be like, well, sometimes I don't work for a month, like the tour's off and I sit at home for a month. Other times I work 3 months straight, 7 days a week, no days off. Like your schedule's all over the place. And finally, I know at least in California, they've started making like gig worker exceptions and stuff to try to help.
They did that.
Forever,
that,
3 or 4 months of those people freaking out where they're just like, nope, sorry, nope.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of in that boat where I was like, being a freelancer, I was like, what the fuck?
Right.
But yeah, they did that. And I mean, for me, it's been, luckily the art buying community has been really good to us. So like doing these paintings and selling them and taking on commissions has been the main source of survival. But I can't, like, I imagine it's not a bottomless well. So making these videos, and like I have these projects I'm doing with some musicians right now too, like hip hop musicians.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to stay, like, build something that can't be knocked down again. Because comics got hit, man.
Oh, it definitely did. I mean, between, I've had so many editor friends that got laid off, even before the DC things. Like IDW laid off a bunch of people.
Right.
Then the whole DC thing got hit. And there were some friends I had there who I thought, well, I know they'll be safe. They'll be good. And then, I'd write them being like, hey, I'm sure everything's cool, but I heard about it. And they're like, yeah, no, I don't work there anymore. I'm like, wow. Like they really went big on that layoff.
Yeah, they did.
It's
They did.
hard, you know, but I don't know. It's kind of, you know, you can blame the disease all you want, but it doesn't care.
Nope.
You know,
That's
there's
exactly right. And
no real answer. Obviously, you know, I'm not going to get into politics because that's not my lane, but sure, things could have been handled a little differently, that we could have maybe been in a better situation, but
agreed. Agreed.
uh, it wasn't.
We'll just leave it there. I agree. But yeah, so I mean, for me, if I just look at it as a personal lesson or a personal thing, I mean, I'm not trying to diminish the pain and suffering of what this has truly caused, but I just had to like click into survival mode, and I just knew I had to build something for myself as if I were just a completely independent artist and make a future in that. And I did, and I'm putting it to work,
And that's all.
confident it'll work out, and I feel good about that. So I
That's
turned
right.
it into something good.
It takes
What?
a certain mindset to be able to do that, because there's a lot of artists out there who like just don't have that drive and don't have that gumption to like to make it happen. You know, they're like, well, the
Right.
jobs aren't here anymore. I'm like, well, then you got to get out and like make the job happen or something. You know,
Exactly.
there's
Exactly.
a lot of like, you know, I have a lot of friends. Unfortunately, the music industry and the art industry breeds a lot of lazy people.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, a lot of like unhealthy people work in this kind of industry, and that's
Right.
frustrating, because you could make something, and if you put the time, you know, get out there and do something. You know, like
Right.
it
And
might
I
be
mean,
comfortable. I started streaming on Twitch and YouTube and stuff. I was thinking like, okay, like this is a chance to get better at my video editing skills and stuff like that. So I started doing just YouTube content, whether it was I did some how-to tutorials as far as production goes and mixing and making beats and stuff. And then I even did a couple like art ones where you watch me draw along, just like live stuff. Um, in the first couple streams I did, there was like 5 people in it. And I thought, you know, damn, like this is kind of humiliating. You know, I would like to think I'm a professional in multiple genres, and I've
right.
hard to build this up. Like I'm gonna do a stream, and like all these people will roll in, and it'll be good to go. I'm like the first time I went, literally there was like 5 people in the stream, and I thought, ugh, I'm not gonna do this anymore. This is stupid. It's like it's not the right thing. It's, you know, like I go in there thinking like, oh, all these like wannabe artists are gonna come in and be asking me like questions, and I'm gonna be like changing lives, or producers are gonna come in and ask questions. And, you know, like not to discredit the people who do show up, but it's like, hey, I saw Good Charlotte when I was 15 and you guys are my favorite band. And I'm like, thank you, you know, like cool, but like
Right.
that's just not what I thought that the situation would be, you know. But
Right.
once I embraced it and realized, like, you know what, those are my fans, and those are the people who care about what I'm doing. They're showing up to every stream, they're supporting me what I'm doing, you know, like I need to appreciate that they're coming to the stream. And so I started to try to like cater my streams to be a little more like fan oriented, fan involved and stuff like that. And then now I hop on a stream, like 75 or 80 people show up right away. And I'm like,
Oh,
okay,
that's awesome.
you know, like it's getting better and better each time I do it. But it took 5 months of me doing a bunch of bad streams where like my streams looked bad, my camera was lagging, like the audio issues would be like I had a lot of bad streams, but each one got a little better and a little better and a little better. And then kind of like what you and I are doing here, like I've had a couple guests come where some other musicians came on, and we did like a review where people would send in demos and we would listen to them live on the stream and offer
Oh,
feedback.
that's awesome.
That had a huge reception because people were like, yeah, I want you to hear my stuff. So that was the best one I had, because I had people involved. Like they're listening to see if you listen to their music, they're sending you stuff in, they're hoping to see if you talk about their music. So it's just a lot of, like I said, you put the work in. You know, I could have been like, oh, streaming sucks, this is stupid,
Right.
over it.
Right.
I'm like, no, like this is it, we're home for a while. I have no other things to do, this is how I make my living. Like I got to find a way to make this work. So I just kind of kept focused with the streaming, and little by little. And just like you said, you know, this was around the same time you and I were talking about what are you going to do or what's happening. And
Right. Right.
I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And I was like, oh, nice. Me too. You know, we both kind of had the same thought, like just double down on creating content that people
Right.
might want to see, and just hope that it works, you know. But it took work, you know. I'm sure for you.
Oh man, did it take work? I didn't take a day off when COVID hit. That was what, late February
Yep.
around, and so I didn't. My first day I took off, I think, was in June. I was just in the studio. I mean, I was having a blast, but I was working my ass off building shit. And it's just like you said, I started doing the podcast like this. I started with my phone and it was all glitchy and awful. I
Right.
got like an old Brio. It was a little better. I got some mics. I got some lights. I got a better Brio. I got a different cam. But yeah, I just built it.
You know, it's true, you know, but the hard work does pay off. It really does.
Yeah, and it's awesome that we can do that. Like it's also like being an artist isn't like, for me it's not just drawing, but I created like this podcast too. It's another outlet to build,
Yeah.
and that was awesome. So does your Twitch make you money?
Yeah, not a ton of money, but it does make money. So there's things on there that you can follow anyone on Twitch for free.
Mm-hmm.
But you can, I don't know if you know this already. Sorry.
No, I don't know much about Twitch at all.
I had to research it too and realize how are people making money from this. So you know, anyone can just follow you, and then you get alerted when that person goes live. But then there's things called subscriptions, and you can subscribe to a channel, and there's different tiers, and based on which tier you subscribe to, you get custom things from that person that you follow. So like in the chat, for example, you can post emojis in the chat. When you subscribe to me, you get a couple of my drawings as emojis, you know, so something like that. So when people are in the chat and they see like, oh, that's cool, you've got like Billy's bat logo as an emoji, like I wish I could have that, like how do you get it? Like, oh well, you subscribe to, you know, the tier 1 subscription and you get this kind of stuff. And if you get a tier 2 subscription, you get like 3 or 4 emojis, and you get like, so it's almost like, to get the cooler one, you have to get the better subscription. And then there's really cool things like gift subs. Like someone in the chat could be like really nice and be like, I'm doing 5 anonymous gift subs, and they drop $20 in the chat, and then 5 people watching it who aren't subscribed get a free subscription for the month because somebody gifted it. And a lot of people are like really generous about gifting subs. It's just like
Wow.
it's like a Twitch community. Like the people who are on Twitch and stuff like that, they're all into it. Like that's their TV, that's their friends. They wake up and they're just on Twitch all day. And that's the other thing I learned is like, how come when I'm like posting on my Twitter, like, hey, come check out my Twitch, like, why aren't all those people coming to my Twitch? You know, like you wonder. And then I started to kind of learn like there's not much crossover. Like it's like you have to find people who are already on Twitch and get them to stay on your stream, because it's like a whole community and a whole world. And once I started doing the things like making custom emojis so that you would buy subscriptions, and then people want that, because when I was just on there streaming, the first couple streams I didn't even have a mic or a video camera. It was just them watching me draw, and I would type in the chat.
Oh wow.
But then that's what I was thinking, why is no one showing? So as soon as I turned a microphone on and I could like answer the question, like I could see people ask stuff in the chat, and then I could answer it like in real life, the interaction became so much more. And that's what people are on Twitch for. They want the interaction. They want to be able to like ask questions and hear you talk about your process as you're going through it. So that's a big thing, I think, with Twitch, is it's like its own thing, but you have to respect it. And I watched other streamers too. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna look at some of these other producers and artists who have like 2,000 people watching them every stream. What are they doing that's so good? Or like, what am I not doing? And none of it is. So like I will hold a contest now. Like if you do get a paid, so each month your subscriptions run out, and then they have to resubscribe every month.
Oh.
So they might spend $5 for the month subscription, and then when August is up, they got to start over or something. So you can choose to resubscribe or whatever. So right now I was holding a contest in the month of August where everybody who subscribes gets put into a raffle, and then I'll draw a random name, and then they can pick a character, and I'll draw it live on Twitch, and then I'll mail them the commission. So that kind of like incentivizes people to buy the subscription because they want to maybe get that free commission. And it's cool for me because I'm already going to be drawing on there anyway. So it's like a win-win to just, then I have something cool to draw and somebody gets a free commission and it helps, drive more subs. So like anything, it's a business,
Right.
How do I work this thing?
Yeah, I feel like for me, my perception is like I remember saying to myself, this was probably in November of last year. I was like, I need to make 2020 the year I really build content, video content, and content to connect with like fans of mine and not just rely on them walking into a comic shop to find a book of mine. And
Right.
then when all this happened, like everything you just said and everything I've been doing, I just feel like maybe this is the future and everything was going in this direction and COVID didn't change anything. It was just an accelerant for the things that were wrong and the things that were right in our industries.
People like Twitch and Zoom and stuff like that, like the world caught up to them. They didn't
Right.
make things for this, but it's almost like, for instance, when we first started doing the homeschooling, like the kids had to figure out PE because that's like a required thing for school is they had to have like a PE something. So my son found this YouTube channel called PE with Joe, and it's this British fitness instructor guy.
Oh,
And
wow.
he had been kind of doing health videos and stuff like that online for years anyways. That was, he had like a few cookbooks and stuff like that. And he had a decent following, like 100,000 people or something. But he started doing this PE with Joe for kids who didn't have PE anymore. And he went from like 100,000 to like 2 million followers within like a month. And I kept saying like the world caught up to him. Like he was ready to go.
Right.
He already had his channel. He was already doing this. And then the world needed something. And he was like, boom, here we go. Like, and anyone who like tried to think of that idea and like do it, like they're too late because some other people
Right.
are in place, and people who like had these sort of digital streaming and connecting services that were like kind of blowing up and gaining traction, like the world just landed in their lap and were like, we need this, right? It's like necessary for living right now. And those companies just hit the ground running and they're crushing it. So it's interesting, and I keep thinking like I've made this same thought about like grocery store workers. Who would have known like how crucial that would become, like them
Right.
to like carry your groceries out, from the store, or like going to work every day and stuff, and like at checkout. And those people they're kind of risking their lives on a daily basis.
Right.
Give us groceries, and like you never know whose name is going to be called for what reason, and you, like I said before, sometimes your name get called and either like you're up for the challenge, you make the best of it, or you don't. So that, this is definitely a trying time for a lot of people, but I also think, like you said, it is a huge opportunity for a ton of people to make the best of this time and
Right.
and change, how they work.
I totally agree. Actually, we haven't talked about Juice World yet. We wanted to do that. Let's talk about Juice World.
Forgot there's music involved in this podcast. You're like, hey, do you want to come on a podcast and talk about music and comics? Like, well, we're already gonna be talking about that all day, any day. Anyway, yes.
So when you chose for us to talk about Juice World's last album, right?
His newest one that came out like a month or two ago, I guess.
Right. And what made you pick that one? I mean, I know you and I have talked about Juice World in the past.
For me, it goes back to a lot of that. Yeah, I'm gonna go back to share screen.
Yeah, I was gonna say you should do that.
Well, I'm keeping this loose. I'm not gonna do like a clean ink pass. I'm gonna throw some colors underneath of these pencils. I've been, like we talked about, trying to keep my stuff
Right.
loose. Okay, is it okay? There we go. Nope, I didn't share it yet. And share. Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
awesome.
Here, I'll zoom out a little cleaned up. I'm just gonna kind of do a little black shading here and there, and then I'm gonna throw some colors down on it.
That's awesome, dude. You gotta really. There's a lot of life in that face. I love that. That's when you know Spider-Man's done right. I don't like when Spider-Man's so real looking. It just looks like a generic mask. But
especially in the movies now when they make his eye holes shape
Yes.
size change, like that's
Yes. It
that's
has to. It has to.
yes. Okay, so Juice World for me, kind of going back to how we were talking about rap rock, and I love the genre mixing of those two. And there's always been a fascination in hip hop with rappers wanting to emulate rock and roll. You know, like it's happened a million times. Obviously,
Right. Right.
some really successful crossovers, like Run DMC and Aerosmith being some of the first to like do it successfully, and then there's like the whole rap rock explosion of the late 90s. But since then I feel like there's been a couple like attempts, like I hate calling anyone out because everybody's trying to do their best, but Lil Wayne tried to make his rock record.
Did he
And
really?
yes, you don't remember that one? Like it came
Dude,
out.
I never got into Lil Wayne.
I still like Lil Wayne, but
I lately I feel like I might like it now, but go ahead.
he's had some hit or misses, but he had a couple records that were just insane. But so he tried to make a rock record, and I feel like it was a mess. Like the mix was bad, the guitar didn't make sense, and it's actually like when you're mixing a rock record versus a hip hop record, it's so different. There's so many different things that you don't think about. Like for instance, cymbals. Like in rock music, cymbals is such a huge thing. You're just in a transition or your hi-hat or laying on your crash. There's so few crash cymbals in hip hop. It just doesn't happen. But it's a huge part of rock music, and just little subtle things. But I think that a lot of artists decide, hey, I'm bored with what I'm doing. I want to switch it up. I want to try to do something. Let's do rock. Just kind of like me saying I want to make beats. And sure, when
Right.
I first started doing it, my beats were not good because I didn't really know exactly about that world. So I had to research it, and simple things like, okay, there's no cymbal hit on the transition. Like in a rock song, when the chorus hits, or any time you transition from like the chorus to the verse or vice versa, there's probably going to be a cymbal. Like a cymbal wash just is for transitions. It's just how it goes. It's classic. But I
Right.
started in hip hop. Okay, that never happens in hip hop. Okay, that's just, or not never. Any rules are meant to be broken, but in
Right.
general. So just simple things like that, or certain types of chords that you would hear in this, like a lot of major seven, minor seven, stuff like that you hear in hip hop. There's not a lot of that in modern rock. Sure, like in Beatles and maybe some more 70s stuff, you heard that, but I always try to compare modern sounds, what's happening today. So, blah, blah, blah. What I'm saying is Juice World is so authentic in his genre blending. Like when you hear melodies that he sings, and they could be straight out of like any rock band song. Like they just
Right.
sound natural. And I know that he is a student of rock and hip hop. Like he loves both, and you can tell that he's not trying to do anything fake. It's just his sound is just a natural sound of him listening to both of those genres of music his whole life. And there's just something about the first time I heard it, like, man, no one has done it. It was always rock music borrowing from hip hop, and this was the
Right.
first time I saw like a hip hop artist borrowing from rock music and doing it in such like an authentic way that just didn't sound forced. It just literally, that's just his sound. And I was just obsessed. I was like, man, this Juice WRLD guy is going to be so big. And of course he blew up so fast, and he's already gone, which is just crazy because his potential was just off the roof, man. I think he would have been one of the biggest stars we ever saw.
It's funny you say that because, like, listening to his new album, I don't know who's speaking, but he passed away before they released it, and so there's someone speaking about him on the record, and they're talking about what
I
you
mean, one of
just.
them is Eminem. Eminem's one of the guys you hear talking on there.
Is it,
And I think Eminem's manager is also on there. But
maybe
you're right.
that's
There's a couple different guys. But keep going,
right.
sorry.
So, but they're saying what you just said about how massive he was going to be and was starting to be. Now, I don't pay attention to like what's going on like in terms of media and popularity when it comes to music. I just know what I like. So like I remember we were talking once about Future. He had just put out a record, and you were like saying, yeah, he's the biggest thing in music right now. And I was like, whoa, I didn't know that. I thought he was just a rapper dude. But so I didn't know this about Juice World. I like his music, obviously, but hearing this, I was like, they were talking about him not just as being great, but being uniquely great. And I didn't know that. And hearing you say that's really making me kind of open my eyes to something I didn't know about him.
Yeah, I mean, I think another thing that I've read, from a lot of interviews and stuff is that he doesn't write anything down. Almost everything Juice WRLD does was just out of his head. Like
I heard that too.
He would, he gets in the booth and would just start like, just coming up with these ideas, and that's hard to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like once in a while, maybe, but I think that how effortless it was for him to make hits. Like imagine if he actually sat in the room with like some of the biggest music producers of all time,
right?
Like actually started like gestating some ideas and like really like thinking like how could we, like possibilities would have been endless. If you're already right, I mean, Lucid Dreams had to be like the biggest song of the year. I mean, he was breaking all kinds of records for the amount of plays that song
I
got.
didn't know that. I mean, I heard that on the record about him making hits. I was like, he had hits. I thought he was like a up and coming rapper. I didn't know this.
He was, but Lucid Dreams like shattered records for like, I think it was the most streamed song of the year on all streaming platforms. I mean,
shit.
It was big. I think that's like really the only hit. I don't think he had any other big songs on the radio, a lot of it, but I think one big hit like that, and his following was insane. He also was very vulnerable, and I think that is a part of hip hop that is new. Like in my area of work, obviously like rock music, like you talk about your personal experiences in your life and stuff like that, and people relate to that. There's like a certain sense of camaraderie and like, okay, so this band's talking about stuff they've been through and I can relate to that because I've had a hard life, and like that's a huge part of Good Charlotte has always been like the reaction to the fans and how they can relate to the lyrics. But I feel like rappers were always worried about acting tough, and acting
bravado
hard. And there was not much opening up your emotions like that and showing it. But now, with guys like, unfortunately it's half the guys that are dead, like XXX, Lil P, Juice WRLD, then guys like, Trippie Redd and some of the other guys right now who are sort of doing this thing where it's like it's like emo, in the fact that you're singing sad songs about your life and heartbreak and this and that, and I think that's another reason why Juice WRLD was doing so well, because his fans just related on like a deeper level than a lot of other hip hop artists. And
I remember that was a conversation you and I had when I first heard Juice WRLD. This is going a couple years ago, because his first record was just about having his heart broken.
Right.
And I'd never heard that in rap, and that's exactly how I would describe it. It was the first time I heard an entire record from a rapper about vulnerability.
And I think, people need that. Like, that's what a lot of people listen to music for, is an outlet, and you don't, now I feel like you see a ton of it in hip hop. Like it's all over the place. People just being vulnerable in music and stuff like that. Even like Future, like look on the Future did with Black on his record, that's just, that's my favorite song on the record, no question.
Yeah, we talked about that too.
I was so into that song.
Yeah, Black can do no wrong for me right now. I can't get enough of him.
Oh, good. Definitely one of my favorite artists in a minute.
Yeah. Did you like his 6-piece hot sauce thing he just put out?
Yeah, I did. I didn't like listen to it as much as maybe some of his other stuff. Like a lot of the stuff kind of sounded the same. But there was like 2 or 3 tracks on it that I thought were really, really good.
Yeah, I think first listen for me, I was like, oh man, but I put it on a few more times and then I was like, I can't stop listening now. I feel like that's how it went down for East Atlanta Love Letter for me too.
Yeah.
Was listening to the record. Like I loved Free Black. Like that album, I was like, I've never heard anything like this, and I could not stop listening to it. And then the next record, I was like, this is good. This is good. It's not Free Black. But then after a few months, I was like, I wasn't listening to Free Black anymore.
I don't think I've listened to it since East Atlanta came out because I love it so much.
Yeah. But then I put on Free Black like last week and I was like, God, this is so good.
It came up on shuffle for me, one of the songs from the record, and I had to stop and think, like, which album is this from? Because I recognized the song, but I couldn't think of the lyrics. And then I was like, okay, I need to go back to this record because.
But that's also what just happened to me with the little EP he just put out, that 6-piece hot sauce thing.
Yeah,
I found myself listening to it over and over and like really enjoying it.
I'm gonna have to do some more.
But he's been teasing a new album soon.
I mean, I'm sure everybody's just home making records like crazy right now.
Yeah,
I would assume we will get a lot of new music constantly, which could be good, could be bad. There's gonna be a lot of oversaturation of new music as well. But
right. Well, I can tell you, like, the things I'm involved with my art right now is I'm working on 2 different hip hop projects, and they're not just music. It's music and art. Like, we're building something that I think I've always dreamed about doing, and we're doing it, and I'm excited about that shit.
For sure. I'm always trying to find out how can I combine these 2 things, like how can I bring them together?
Yeah, me too.
It's fun.
I'm excited to see where this goes. All right, Billy. Well, we've been going a good bit here.
I know. We can wrap it up whenever you're ready. At least I got my drawing to a point where I feel like it looks finished-ish.
Yeah, I got my underdrawing to a point where I'm ready to transfer it, so I can stop here.
I'm gonna
that
stop.
Looks great, dude. Do you you just know the costume, huh? It's just in your DNA at this point.
I mean, it is, yeah. Like I have a picture up so I can look at the costume, but I could draw it without looking.
Yeah.
All right. All the little webbing, that's the annoying part, but I kind of cheat a lot of the webbing.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the webbing too. I thought about doing the black costume, but I always go for the classic.
I love both too, but yeah. I can't wait to see that with all the colors. It's gonna look amazing.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'll email it to you when it's done. It's gonna be a little while. I have all these paintings I started in podcasts. I got 3 of them.
Oh, they're half. That's funny.
But I'm just gonna dedicate like the next week to finishing them, so I'll get it done.
Cool.
All right, man. Well, thank you for doing this, Billy. This was great.
Thank you. I mean, I love doing this kind of stuff. I don't get to do it as often as I like, so I was stoked that you asked me.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm glad we did this.
About all this, man. I'm stoked for you and all the stuff you got going on, and I'm glad it's all working out for you.
Thanks, man. You too. I'm glad to hear your beats are doing their thing. I'm glad to hear your Twitch is doing its thing. Let's definitely keep talking because there's
you gotta come on my Twitch next time, okay? We'll get you to come on my Twitch and talk.
Oh, I'd love to, dude. Actually, let me know when you want to do it. Maybe I'll save the painting for that, and I can work on that while we're on there.
That could be super cool. I'm into that. Yeah, we'll figure out a day to do that. That's cool.
All right, cool. Awesome. All right, well, I'm going to press stop here, and then you and I can say goodbye.
Sounds good.
This is the Ink Pulp Podcast. This is the Ink Pulp Podcast. Comics, hip hop,